Good evening. I would like to call to order the Board of Library Trustees for the Arlington Heights Memorial Library regular board meeting on this Tuesday, January 21st, 2025. May I have a roll call, please?
Trustee Burrell?
Here.
Trustee Gallo?
Here.
Trustee Kelly?
Here.
Trustee Meadow is not here. Trustee Rule is not here. Trustee Zick?
Here.
President Simone?
Here. We can all stand for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We have three members of the public tonight at our meeting, so welcome. I believe that these three people, Barbara, David, and Darnell, are running for library trustees. So thank you for coming to our meeting. You can see what we're all about. We have some staff members that are going to do a presentation and a full agenda. So with that, is there any public comment? All right. How about liaison reports?
Okay, I have a report from the Friends of the Library. The Friends thanked us for working with Allison and the book sale crew in relation to the facility updates. We tried to work around their schedule for the book sales in the renovation of the core entrance down there. They had a successful 2024. They raised $100,000 and reimbursed most back to the library, implementing an electronic membership card this year. They started filing the paperwork to complete the grant process for the AV upgrade that they sponsored last year. So they have a grant in the works for that. Their next upcoming sales are a children's winter book sale, Saturday and Sunday, February 1st and 2nd. And then members night is Friday, January 31st. And then they have a spring book sale, Saturday and Sunday, April 12th and 13th. And the members night is Friday, April 11th. Thank you to our friends again for everything they do to support us.
That's a lot, $100,000.
It is.
Wonderful, great work.
And I do not have anything from the foundation. Lori said she was going to try to attend and provide a report, but apparently she was not able to make it.
Okay. All right, thank you. Approval of the minutes of our regular board meeting on December 17th, 2024.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of the meeting on December 17th, 2020.
And a second?
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Reviewing the financial report for the period ending December 31st.
Okay, there was no real estate tax revenue recognized in the month of December. The library received personal property replacement taxes in the amount of $8,817.03 this month. We also received $62,824.01 in cash in land or in lieu of land from the village in December. Copier printer revenue totaled $3,656.72. Our meeting room fees were $425. Lost item charges totaled $1,050.53. December interest income was $20,610.59. Donations totaled $458.42. The Friends of the Library reimbursed us $20,366.51. A bulk of that was for our OBOB author. Revenue collected for vehicle stickers totaled $382. Makerspace miscellaneous revenue was $1,075.28. And our total revenue collected in December was $119,556.09. On the expense side, 100% of the fiscal year has lapsed, and we've expensed 97% of our total operating budget. The favorable variance to date is $546,385. As a reminder, although expenses are finishing the year favorable to budget, they are running less favorable than previous years, primarily to fewer open positions. We budget a deficit since actual favorability has historically made up for such a deficit. However, with the expenses growing and revenues remaining flat, we experience less favorability on the expense side each year to absorb the budgeting deficit. These figures will change slightly as we in the village perform our year-end entries. And preliminary field work for the 2024 audit has also begun, so we'll provide a full report on the final 2024 budget numbers once that's complete. For capital, 91% of our total annual capital budget has been expensed as of December. This includes the final billing for our interior renovations this fiscal year, which is complete except for a few punch list items that are still outstanding. So we're working with our general contractor on that to get those wrapped up. That's all I have on the financial report. If anyone has any questions, I'd be happy to address them. Yes.
The comment you made a little earlier about the expenses, and I think you're talking about the personnel costs.
Mhm.
That drove it up, but, so I look at it, when I look at the personnel section here, chart here, we're about 10 FTE down from budget.
Mhm.
But you're saying that we were over, it sounds like you were making a statement that we were actually over what we thought the.
We had more positions filled than we normally would take it in account for. So we have a number of positions that are open throughout the year. This year, we didn't have as much turnover. There were more positions were filled faster. And so those positions were, the money that went out in those positions went out more than they would have in previous years. So that coupled with the increased costs of everything else kind of put us a little bit higher than we had been previously. So we're still in a favorable range, we're still 580,000 favorable. But when you look at revenue, we're actually over revenue by about 410,000, which is what we had expected. We kind of figured we would be.
Okay, so we budgeted for 10 more FTE than we have right now. I'm guessing the budget for next year is probably similar.
Yeah, Tracy, do you want to speak to
that
details
number?
on this?
Yeah, like to Mike's point, the positions that were open during 2024 were probably less costly positions that were open previously too, and for different lengths of time. So just the 10 FTE depends on the position, but we were, yeah, we had more favorability from personnel costs last year than this year.
Okay, and I take it those 10 FTE, are we looking to fill those right now, or those things are just there for in case we need them?
Yeah, no, we're still looking to fill.
But they're
Because that's
part-time, they're primarily part-time employees.
I think we have a couple, one or two
It's like
full-time
one
positions that are
full-time
currently open.
position.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes, and we did release a number of hours from the 2025 budget, but those were mostly part-time because they didn't amount to a significant change in budgeted FTE.
Any questions?
so I just wanted to say that, good job with the budget. We, again, were about $500,000. We spent $500,000 less than we had budgeted, so that's great. Even more if you look into the capital projects, but I assume that some of that money is like for the parking lot, that just gets rolled over to next year. But even on the big projects, we generally were under budget, not over budget, so that's great. Because of the way we set up the budget, I think it reinforces our decision to do the tax levy because we set up the budget spending more than we were gonna bring in. The other thing is I kind of looked through the last years and I think if past is prologue, we're gonna get some more tax money in. I mean, in the previous years, the January meeting was not the final tax amount of money.
We might get a little bit more. We're about 98%
Yeah.
collected right now, so we might see maybe 1% more.
Yeah.
Tracy, what do you think?
I'm
Maybe.
thinking 1%, yeah, although the deadline was different this year too, so that could impact it, but anyway. All in all, great job, and the department heads did a really good job in, estimating their budgets, and thank you for leading that, Tracy. So, moving on to the check register.
All right, I have a few checks here to highlight. On page 3, check 103553 to Garber Consulting Group. In the amount of $3,000. That is consulting for E-rate services related to the internet filtering. So when we implemented that internet filter, one of the things that we talked about was the E-rate money that we could collect as part of that. This is our first time participating in this program, and the consultant will lend their expertise to assist with the application and claims process, file forms on the E-rate portal, and meet deadlines to ensure that we receive the proper funding. The consultant costs were anticipated as part of the E-rate changes this year, and that is an annual amount of $3,000.
Mike, was that the consultant recommended by trustee Metal?
It was not, actually,
But it's similar.
it's very similar, yeah, we looked at a number of different ones, and this one seemed to fit the bills for us.
Okay, thank you.
On page 3 and 4, check 103583 and 103620 to Libraries of Illinois Risk Agency and Risk Program Administrators. The amounts on those two checks are $124,787.11 and $53,470. That is for property and casualty and workers' compensation insurance renewal premiums for the 2025 year as a member of the LIRA Cooperative. Due to the hard insurance market driven by catastrophic claims and higher reinsurance rates, premiums have been increasing. However, LIRA members continue to experience better than market renewals on average. On page 6, check 103540, 103559, and 103572. Those are made out to Brendan Crosby, Kate Henry, and Sam Ivers. The total of those three checks is $3,573.33. That is for tuition reimbursements for 3 staff pursuing their MLIS degrees. Kate Henry, who works at the Maker Place, recently graduated with her MLIS. On page 8, check 103502 to Amazon Capital Services in the amount of $52.96. That is supplies for a new team building initiative where small buttons will be awarded to commemorate participation in various culture events in the library, such as spirit wear, collecting items to donate, or sharing food or fun facts with each other. All employees throughout the library are welcome to take part and visit the second floor to collect buttons during the year. It is hosted by second floor staff and of all levels who represent a melting pot of 5 departments, plus staff from 5 additional larger service departments. On page 13, check 103574 to Johnson Controls in the amount of $426. This is for our annual fire alarm testing and inspection for what's known as the FM 200 fire suppression system. This is a chemical-based system that's used in our computer server room and our electrical vault where the water sprinklers are not suitable. So it's a separate system for those. On page 15, check 103633 to SRC Electric LLC in the amount of $3,160. That was an electrician service call for lights in the staff entrance and the Friends of the Library room. They were not working. This was due to a shorted wire in conduit under the ground. The contractor was able to pull the wire back and put a new wire in there and replace it. On page 19, check 103586 to Linda Thie's Sewing Center on the amount of $1,979.94. Those are sewing machines for youth programs at the main library. These machines will allow youth services staff to offer in-demand learning experiences for younger customers at the main library. They're the same machines that as the ones we use at the Maker Place, so young customers will be prepared to use that space on their own once they turn 12. That is all of the check questions that I had. So if anybody has any other questions.
That sounds terrific. I just wanted to remind people that might be watching or in the audience that all of the documents for our board meetings are online on the library website. So if you have questions about any documents or would like to see what documents typically look like, everything is very accessible. We aim to be very transparent. All right.
I move approval of the accounts payable check register for the Arlington Heights Memorial Library for December 31st, 2024 in the amount of $1,994,131.82.
Second.
All right. Second from trustee Burrell. May I have a roll call, please?
Trustee Burrell,
Yes.
trustee Gal,
Yes.
trustee Kelly,
Aye.
trustee Zip,
Yes.
president Smirney.
5. All right, executive director's report.
Alrighty. We have put a few good things to report here for this past month. First, foremost on the first page there, AHML officially certified as a Family Place Library. Members of the Family Place Libraries Initiative completed their site visit to confirm that the library meets all aspects of the initiative's 7 core components. Since staff attending a multi-day FPL training institute in October 2018, they worked to transform the library into a welcoming, developmentally appropriate early learning environment for very young children, their parents and caregivers. This included the addition of a 5-week parent-child workshop held twice annually, a parent collection adjacent to areas designed for our youngest customers, and a focus on specially designed spaces for interactive early learning. HML was presented with a Family Place Libraries banner in December, designating the library certification. So this is something that has been a long time coming. We were working on that certification before the pandemic, and pandemic kind of derailed things. So I'm really proud of those staff that were able to kind of regroup, get us through that certification and get us certified.
Could you talk a little bit more just about what the ramifications of that mean and what it does for the library and what it does for the people of the village too?
Sure. I mean, basically, it provides a set of guidelines that we adhere to provide certain services for very young customers or their caregivers. And the workshop that I mentioned is it's a really very interesting workshop for kids and for the caregivers, something that we haven't had in the past, and provides them with not only good resources, but an opportunity for them to bond with their children in a different way and with others and learn from one another and stuff like that. It's just a really nice certification, and I don't think very many libraries in Illinois have this. I think we're one of the few, and so it's a nice.
It sounds like something that might be wise to highlight in our annual report.
Yeah. Dana, do you want to add anything about it?
No, I mean, it's really focusing on playing and interactive learning. I talked to it 2 meetings ago, but basically, yeah, we've been doing this for 7 years, staff have been trained and incorporating this to all of our programming and partnerships with the community, bringing in partnerships, people who can speak on, like ASL for babies and things like that, and just, like Mike mentioned, a bunch of community resources for the caregivers and ways to bond with babies, so,
Thanks.
Okay, on the next page, I just want to mention the Maker Place. We have just kind of a year in review snapshot here on page 2. We had more than 18,000 people visit the Maker Place in 2024. That's an increase of 15% from 2023. Maker Place staff increased program sessions by 15.5% and saw a 16% increase in program attendance. Likewise, there's been an increase in volunteer hours by 16.2% to support the initiatives. And then in 2024, 117 culinary classes were hosted at the Maker Place Kitchen, up from 95 in 2023 and 74 in 2024. So we're just continuing to see that growth, and kind of the energy and the emphasis that we're putting on the Maker Place to build it is working. Seeing more people come through the doors. On page 3, journeys. Neil, our programs and exhibit specialist, and Catalina, our community engagement liaison, facilitated the final PADS meal prep session of the year. It was another great success with 10 participants preparing lunch and dinner for 45 individuals at Journeys. In total this year, HML coordinated 6 meal prep sessions in the Maker Place Kitchen, engaging 79 attendees, volunteering their time to assist their community. In total, more than 400 individual meals were prepared and delivered through this year's program. Then on page 4, at the bottom, the Illinois Libraries Presents program will be transitioning to the Illinois Library Association after the conclusion of its 4th season. As a co-founding library, our programs and exhibits manager, Jennifer Chaika, has continued to work on the ILP steering committee and has been working on this transition with ILA staff since summer of 2024. Transition will offer sustainability of the ILP program for many years to come. So Jennifer passes along a thank you to the Board of Trustees for your support in this initiative from the very beginning. This is a huge step for ILP. ILP has kind of really taken off, and the fact that ILA sees that and is now kind of taking it on themselves is huge. So this program will continue for a very long time with the backing of ILA.
And isn't there a session with James McBride this month? Is that part of it? Yeah, so that's getting these authors that we could not afford ourselves is a wonderful thing, and, you know, working with all these other libraries, so, thanks.
Okay, then on page 6, in 2024, Youth Services distributed more than 160 tote bags for new baby cardholder signups. Funded by the Friends of the Library, these bags are stocked with a new book that encourages bonding between caregivers and their children, as well as early literacy calendar offering fun and accessible ideas for growing children's skills every day of the year. The library currently provides 918 library cards to children under the age of 5. The baby library cards themselves, complete with charming art designed in-house, feature or further communicate the value of books and libraries even to the youngest members of our community. Then on page 8, I just want to highlight our Senior Accessible Services Manager retired. After 22 years of service, Mary Jo Lipo, our Senior and Accessible Services Manager, retired last month. Her dedicated and thoughtful development of diverse services, programs, and classes made a lasting impact on the lives of our customers, staff, and volunteers. Her tenure was celebrated by staff and the many volunteers who worked with the department. Mary Jo has done a lot here. She's really instituted a lot of change and made a very strong department with not only the senior center, but also the accessibility development here at the library. So we will certainly miss Mary Jo and thank her for her many years of service here. Then on that same page at the bottom, we had more than 740 books donated for the library's holiday book drive that ran November 1st through the 30th. So thank you to all of our customer, staff, and community groups who helped contribute to the library's 2024 holiday book drive. More than 740 books were generously donated for infants, children, and teens for Wheeling Township's Adopt a Family program. Then on page 9, just some more Makerspace info. Last month, customers were actively engaged in customizing gifts at the Makerplace. Inspired by the December newsletter's feature on easy gift-making ideas, nearly 140 mugs were sold for on-site design and customization. Unique projects supported through one-on-one appointments included completing a vintage Christmas stocking with a tricky sewing pattern, etching designs on wood ornaments, and personalizing a leather wallet and wooden photo album, all leading to happy customers. We also had a cookie fest over there. Chef Brian continued to explore different hands-on programming models for the Makerplace Kitchen, piloting Cookie Fest for the holidays. He hosted 3 90-minute sessions where registered customers could bring their ingredients and helpers to use the kitchen's equipment and ovens to mass produce cookies. There was also a station for decorating cookie boxes while the treats cooled. This model has piqued everyone's interest, and Chef Brian looks forward to evolving this approach in 2025. Then on the bottom of that page, last month, 22 attendees donated blood at the library's community blood drive. In 2024, AHML partnered with Versity Blood and held 5 blood drives that collected 135 units that helped save 405 lives in our community. So another way we're getting back to the community. That is everything I had on the director's report. Anybody have any questions about anything, or can I add anything?
Go ahead.
I do really feel like I'm talking a lot, so I apologize. First of all, something I want to say in the last section where we were talking about the expenses, when you brought up the tuition reimbursement, thanks for bringing that up, because that's one of the best things I think we do, that we spend money on here, because you know how that just helps obviously the individual, but it also helps the library and how we service everybody. So it's one of the best things that we spend money on here. So thank you for highlighting that. I have a little bit of a conflict with going through your dashboard and one of the statements that you said here. I'm just kind of curious. You know, on page 2, you talk in the Makerplace Share and Review, you know, you talk about, you know, culinary programming made impressive strides in 2024. But when I look through the dashboard, culinary attendance is down 5.7%. So there's a little bit of a conflict in my mind between those two. I don't know if it's because maybe not as many, we're having more programs, but not as many people are showing up. But every time I talk to people, those are the ones that people can't seem to get into.
Right.
So that's why I was confused when I saw that number.
Let me verify those numbers. Just I'll email you back.
Yeah, I think we have to kind of cross-check that, because which numbers are including the youth services programs versus not including youth services programs, they might be different in the dashboard, so we'll have to
cross-check that for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah, good one.
You know what, I actually wanted to bring up something because I believe that everyone on the board has received a letter from our auditor, you know, when we go through and answer a list of questions. So I'm wondering, can you remind us, you know, again, just for transparency, how, say someone has an expense from Amazon, it's $500 invoice or whatever. I know that, you know, not one person just signs that check. So can you remind all of us how that, what the protocol is for that?
Yeah, so, I apologize, I was gonna mention that in the check register, but I missed it. So there are different ways that people can order things. We have a requisition process where, people will submit a purchase. If there's a certain dollar amount that, managers, staff, and then administration are authorized to submit for. If their submission does not meet that threshold, it then rolls up to the person that does meet that threshold. And so right there, you have two people looking at it, or could be one, but then it goes to finance verifies and then makes the purchase. Through our regular check process, then you guys also see the check register.
Right.
I believe one of the questions you had was about special checks. And so if someone needs a check that's written in between board meetings, so say there's a contract that needs a 50% deposit and it needs to be done right, then we'll write a special check. It's written by finance, signed off on by the person requesting it, but then also requires signature by either the deputy director or myself. And then that also shows up for you guys in your financials.
Right.
So, and then the other process is through credit card. And so credit card, someone would submit a requisition. There's only certain card holders, only a few people have cards, and all of those still go through finance for verification, and then you guys still see those in the monthly report.
Right, so essentially at least two people see.
Yeah.
A check.
Yeah, right.
Thank you.
Tracy, is there anything I missed?
I just think that if, the authorities for purchases, dollar limits are for, but are also split for budgeted and unbudgeted. So those individuals who would designate time authority are for budgeted expenditures. If anyone wants to purchase anything that's for something unbudgeted, there's also thresholds in place for that and dollar amounts in place for that. And depending on the threshold, even Mike might not be able to sign off, it would be brought to the board.
Right.
Once it's over a certain threshold.
Yeah, so for instance, I'm authorized to purchase up to $10,000 unbudgeted or $20,000 budgeted.
Right,
Anything over either of those comes to the board as a request.
yes. All right, thank you.
Yep.
All right, I see that our Library Foundation representative Lori Harp is here. We would
Well, I
love to
apologize.
hear from you.
I
Tell us what's going
apologize for
on.
being late.
No
The
worries.
foundation is burning the candle at both ends.
Oh, well, thank you for that.
And it's really a cold day,
It is.
and I've been out since 9 this morning,
Oh my
so
gosh.
I apologize. So happy New Year, everybody.
Happy New Year.
Good to be back. It seems like it's been a while since I've been here. Right now, our development team is putting the almost final touches on our second International Women's Day event. We're going to accept up to 100 participants this year in 3 rotating groups. So we're managing it a little bit different than we did last year. And this year we're focusing on women's health, taking time for themselves, because like I'm late tonight, we don't take time for ourselves. So, and the one that I'm most interested, I think, in attending is how to say no. I don't say that enough. I don't think any of us do. Anyway, it should be a lovely evening. I hope some of you can join us. The other thing that we have finished is, as we're entering into year 7, we've revisited over the last year our strategic plan for the next 5 years, and we have revisited and structured, now that we know more of what we're doing, our mission, vision, and values. So that's focusing on lifelong learning and accessibility to the library. And whether that means lockers or bookmobile or whatever, those are the things we're focusing on. Which leads me into my meetings several times a day. We are putting a campaign together for a new bookmobile, or at least to pay for part of it. We can't fund all of it, but we think kind of in partnership with all of the players that everyone will feel more like they are part of the bookmobile. So we had a focus group You attended,
I did.
Amy,
I
in
did.
November, and we came out with about 25 or 30 ideas. We decided we would save some of them for the future, but we are fine tuning the ones that we're going to do. And from that group, we have a planning group that we've met each week to put our ideas together. We'll be meeting hopefully in the next couple of weeks with Mike and Sasha to share our ideas with them to make sure that we're all on the same page together. But we're kind of excited. We're gonna do a soft approach from March, April, and May, and then in June, we'll start a public approach. And I think, I mean, what we have laid out so far sounds really good, really. I think it'll be very successful. So, once we get staff approval, and once we finalize some of our ideas, we'll share all that information with all of you. You got any questions for me?
Well, I think I was very impressed by the variety of viewpoints that you had at the meeting, ages, experiences. I thought it was really a creative way to bring people together. So, yeah, I'm interested, it'll be fun to see what you're choosing to use right away. And I know the library, the graphics department, the marketing, there's a lot that they can help you with.
Well,
So,
what we want to do is, we want it to appear to the public that we are all working together on this.
yes,
And, one of the things that we are gonna do, starting in June, is we're gonna be working with the bookmobile at the farmer's market to try to get people at the farmer's market, the community engaged. And however we're gonna do that, we wanna get little kids involved so they know that it's their bookmobile too. And whether it's, put a quarter in the slot, well, we haven't figured that out yet, but we're working on those kind of approaches. So if you have any ideas, let me know. You know how to get in touch with me.
that's right. And if anyone doesn't know, the foundation does have a website and you can link to it from the library website. So.
Right. And we're starting to update our website. That'll be done in the next, hopefully 4 or 5 months. We feel like it's been a couple of years and it's getting kind of stale, and we keep adding things to it. And when you add, we're at the point where we're gonna outgrow what we have, so we've got to kind of start over again. But we are continuing our annual appeal. One of the things that I had checked in the last couple of months is a lot of our donors that have followed us through the last 7 years, they started out maybe giving us $25, and then when we didn't go away, the next year they gave us 50, and then we didn't go away, and then they gave us 100, and now they're giving us 1,000. So the fact that I think we're continuing to communicate with them, our impact report has made a huge difference. I write personal notes to everyone that sends in a contribution on top of the formal appreciation letter that comes from our secretary. We're trying to continue to reach out and make people feel like this is your foundation. So come on, join us.
Wonderful. Thank you.
I have another meeting to go to.
Yes.
believe it or not.
Goodness. Well, I've seen lots of good social media about the women's event and I hope that other people see that and it's very well attended.
So what we're trying to do with that event this year is get everything paid for from sponsorship so that the ticket price goes directly to the fundraising for the bookmobile. So far, so good.
Yeah, good.
Yeah. So see you there.
All right. Thank you.
Everybody.
Lord.
All right, moving on to new business.
We have a couple of special guests tonight to show
Yes.
us a telescope that we have in our Library of Things collection. So Bill Purdue, Chris Smith, you guys care to join us and walk us through this awesome piece of technology?
Shall we?
Should we just stand up and start?
Here.
Yep, so I'm Chris and this is Bill. We're from the Digital Services Department here at the library. And this is a new Library of Things item we just added to our collection called the C-Star Telescope. Just to give you some information about how we go about purchasing Library of Things items here and picking them out. I'm one of the people who has the opportunity to pick out some of the Library of Things items here at the library. I do a lot of different research trying to figure out what would be cool to add to our collection and what useful for customers. Sometimes, I hit the roadblocks like look fit through the drive-up window. or how many individual pieces are included with the individual item, because our staff members do have to look at it and check it in. But for this item, I was looking through our catalog and kind of realized that we don't have a lot of STEM items in our collection that focus on science, technology, engineering, and math. So kind of what I was thinking about is how can we add an item that focuses on one of those categories into our collection? Because a lot of the school districts in our area, School District 25 and 214, focus on these subjects, because those are the type of jobs that are being created right now for them. So I pretty much was looking through and I narrowed down to thinking about getting a telescope. But I don't have as much information as Bill here. He is our resident astronomer. So we met up and talked about what would be cheap and easy to use and narrow down to the C-Star here.
Is that me? Okay, let's wait, I'm gonna try and wait this thing out. Turn on the power, see if we can get, oh, look, it's moving. Oh. So, this is the C-Star S50. So in terms of like the thing itself, the company is called ZWO, it's a Chinese company, but the C-Star is, they make a lot of different astronomy products. The C-Star is the model. It is looking straight at me right now. Maybe I can zoom it around a bit. It's not really good in this room because it needs like, probably the closest thing you can look at is probably about 50 feet away. But we can, move it around a little bit. Whoops, let's move around to look at you guys a little bit more. There we go. Now I'm starting to look at you.
Is it gonna?
It's not quite ready for that. It can't even focus on the other side of the room, but, so this is, we call this a telescope. It's not what you think of when you think of a telescope. You imagine a telescope in your mind, you think of a long tube, you're at one end of it looking through an eyepiece and there's a lens at the other end, or maybe you know a little more about telescopes, maybe there's an eyepiece at the side and there's a mirror in the bottom of it, different kinds of things. This is not a telescope that you walk up and look through. This is, technically it's a remote control camera. And it's a remote control camera that the innards of it also have a, besides the chip for collecting the light, it's got, basically, it's got a map of the sky built into it, so it kind of can figure out where it's pointing to. It's got GPS, so it knows where it's sitting and what the sky should look like from where you are. And it's got, it runs off of an app, and it's got actually some basic photo processing built into it. So after you take these pictures, you can play with them a little bit on the machine and try and make them a little bit prettier. Or if you want to try and become a real expert, you can take them and put them on your PC and do all kinds of stuff with other software. Not going to get that deep into it tonight. I will say I have been doing astronomy. Well, I mean, I've had a good telescope of some sort or another since about 1976. And I played with astrophotography before. So astrophotography is a tough game to get into. You can kind of get in at the edges and take a quick picture of the moon, or maybe even a decent picture of a planet with your smartphone. What they call deep sky photography, that is, you need a budget. This thing, retail is coming in around $500. Just under 500. There's a newer version, a little smaller, that'll also get you into the game for about 350. There's a few other like this. For that kind of money, this thing punches way above its weight. And takes pictures that I could not have dreamed of in the 1980s. And some people 5-10 years ago couldn't have dreamed of taking with their $1,000 rigs. And there's a whole new market. It's called electronically assisted astronomy. There's several different products out there now that you can do this with. They run from a few of them at this lower end where we are to ones that are over $35,000, $4,000, $3,500, $4,000, things like that. But this is a really nice point to get in at with a moderate learning curve and a way to get really nice results. Go ahead and advance our slide here. So you're not looking through this, you're pointing it at the, there we go. So what can I look at? And every picture you see in here was taken with one of our C-Stars. So everything you see here, so that's a picture of the moon. It's not perfectly round, it's what they call a waxing gibbous. It doesn't quite fill, it's just awful full. But get the moon, there is this little disc in here, this little orange thing, it's actually like, remember the Mylar, the eclipse time? This is that kind of thing. It's slightly different material, but it's the same idea. You put that on the lens, if you reduce the sun, this takes beautiful pictures of the sun. You get sunspots. Chris had this out on the eclipse.
Yep.
So he was over at Harper College with this, and he was showing that off to, let's actually, the first one we bought, the first thing we really did with it was the eclipse. We can look at stars, we can look at what are called clusters and nebulae, which are these clouds of dust and gas in the sky. Galaxies, it's wonderful for all of that stuff. Those are called deep sky objects. Planets are okay. If I point this at Jupiter, you will see its moons very nicely. The planets will be a little small because this is a slightly wide field for planets. It's good for the deep sky objects. Okay, for planets, you might see a little bit of the stripes on Jupiter's surface. So this isn't really a planetary scope so much, but people have used it for that. What I've got it in now is I'm pointing around. You can also stick it in your yard and like watch the birds up in the tree, squirrels or, the neighbors. But it's this, they call it scenery mode or terrestrial mode. It also, one of the cool things is they built into it what's called a light pollution filter. If you live in an urban area, which we do, you'll notice the night sky is not what you see in southern Illinois. There's a lot of light out there. You can do some tricks with filtering to block out the colors of light that a lot of the lights produce and just let through some of the colors that are commonly produced by the nebulas and things like that. And it helps get better pictures, better contrast on those. So it's a nice little trick. A lot of times, with other more expensive ones, you have to slip those in manually. This is actually just built in and it just turns itself on and off as needed. Go to our next slide here. So in the box, we've got the thing itself, the scope, this nice carbon fiber tripod. The case itself comes with it, a charger, the solar filter, and quick start guide. You grab the app from your app store, iOS or Android. The app itself has a manual built into it. So it has a tutorial section of the app, so that'll give you a lot of instructions. I tried to print out instructions for this, but they have updated this app about 5 times since I printed the instructions. So that's gonna be a losing game. The tutorials in here, as I'll point out later, there are 1,000 different YouTube videos out there right now of people doing things with this scope. It's a big community of people. So let's go to our next. And then here is the app that I have on here. If we go down later, I'm going to invite you down later. It's clear out. I'm going to invite you down to the lobby. I will not make you go outside. And we will put this outside and I will stand inside with it, which is one of the nice things because it connects via Wi-Fi to my tablet. It creates its own Wi-Fi network. It connects to my tablet. My tablet is now attached to the Wi-Fi of the C-Star. I can have this outside and I can sit in my family room and just get pictures and sit there. And if it's a nice summer night, great, I'll be out there next week. On a night like this, I can go out, put it there and just grab my pictures from the comfort of my house. There's a sky atlas built into here so that when I go into that, first of all, it'll show me what's nice, what's pretty in the sky tonight. And I can choose from a nice list, or I can go into a full sky atlas right here, and I'll zoom in. It shows me all the constellations that are up in the sky, and I can pick. It sort of shows me what the field of view would be, and I can pick objects in the sky. I can and say, oh, there's the Orion Nebula. Let's put that in there, and I can just tell it to start going to that, and you'll start seeing this little square. It's very impressive. You got to see the little square and move towards it, then it centers it on it, and it tells you that it's ready to take a picture. Once it lands on that object, it starts taking the photograph. It takes a series of 10-second photographs. It exposes it for 10 seconds at a time, and then layers each photo on top of each other, so that over time the picture gets better and better. It looks a bit fuzzy to begin with, a bit dim, and the object you're looking at just looks better and better as you go. It's really quite impressive. It's kind of like watching an old Polaroid SX70 develop in front of you. That's cool. The photos are saved to here. they're saved in your photos, on your device, in your gallery. Also, depending on how you go into some of the settings, you can save the photos on there. Sometimes they get into large sets of multiple photos, but you're gonna process them later, so, or video, things like that. Go ahead. So, as I said, the images are saved to your device. The app has some basic, image processing. Images, because they can be a little bit noisy, they can have a little bit of graininess to them. There's actually, some denoising software built into it as well. That makes them look nice. You can copy them to your computer to play with different pieces of software. There's a lot of discussion about what software people like to use for this, that, or the other thing. I've been impressed. This picture came right off the Sea Star. It actually watermarks the pictures. I would say this would look perfectly good on a mug. Take this over to go to the mayor place to, right up to the mug. So I've been very impressed with how this goes. In fact, I'm impressed enough that I bought one for myself after using it here. I was like, oh, let's see how this goes. And then I was impressed enough that I bought my own. Can I have the next slide here? I'm just gonna, in terms of how we're actually doing this, like library things items, it lends for 1 week. You can have up to 2 renewals. I'm correct on that, am I not, Chris? Okay. So, right now, that video,
We can play that.
we can play the video in a little bit. We put the video on Instagram and Facebook, and it's had a massive number of views. And we went from 2 holds to 21 holds for the two that we've got in circulation right now. So,
We actually have over 12,000 views on the videos, and then between Facebook and Instagram, and then we get 237 likes and 52 shares.
so we're getting some
Yeah,
engagement.
and that's
on
only
this.
since like Thursday or
Yeah,
Friday.
yeah, that's some engagement. I'm happy with that. I tell you, astronomy, space sells. That's what I say. And as I said, for the learning curve, the app has the tutorials built into it, and a lot of people have just kind of put their tutorials online. So as far as you want to go with this thing, you can pursue that avenue. Let's go on to our next one. Now, let's just get to pretty pictures. On the left, this is one of the first things I ever took with this. It's 2 galaxies in the same picture. It's called M81 and M82, nice technical names for you. But the one on the bottom is kind of what they call an irregular galaxy. It's kind of messy and all over the place. The top one, if you look at it in a darker room, it's actually what they call a spiral galaxy. It's a nice sort of, like when you think of the Milky Way, a spiral shape. I can see these in a telescope eyepiece at the same time. It's actually cool. These are really close together. Up at the top, we have something called an open cluster. Actually, we have 2 of them in there. That's where stars are gravitationally all together in kind of a loose grouping of stars. Those bluish white ones that are kind of bigger, loose connections on the left side. And then there's a dimmer one on the right. That one's actually way in the distance. It's a different cluster altogether, but they just happen to line up together. So it's another twofer in terms of the pictures there. The bottom one is called a globular cluster. That's a group that can be anywhere from 150,000 to 500,000 or 1 million stars, all gravitationally clustered together. They kind of make a halo around the galaxy, around the Milky Way. They're some of the oldest stars in the universe. They're almost implausibly old. So they're fascinating objects. They're beautiful in the telescope. Let's go on to our next one here. The left one, that's a nebula that is called the Eagle Nebula. If you've seen the Hubble Space Telescope picture called the Pillars of Creation, it's these, Hubble has a magnificent close-up of these things right in here, that little structure. That's where stars are forming inside of those clouds of gas and dust. Obviously a picture of the moon. The right-hand side is a little thing called a planetary nebula. It's popularly known as the Ring Nebula. That's a star that blew off its outer shell of gas, kind of burped it off, and the radiation from that star is causing that gas as it expands to glow. And because it's kind of expanding towards us, it's not coming towards us anytime soon, but it's causing it to look like a ring to us. On to the next one. Okay, so this is on the left side, that's an animation, and let's pay very close attention on the left side of the sun there. First of all, a lot of sunspots that day. And Mike, if you can just click to start that animation, I can just click the video.
Which one on the left?
Yeah. And watch, you see that? There, okay, I filmed that on the roof of the library here. One of the first days we had this thing, there's a little site you can go to check for when these transits are, that's the International Space Station. And I caught a single frame there on the right, you can see the solar panels on this International Space Station. You know, I'm blown away by how easy that was to do. It almost makes me feel good. Let's go one more here. One more slide here. Okay, now, this is another animation. I want to have you look at this one closely. Now, this is Mars. That sort of moon's circle there. This is the one we kind of stretched. It has a digital zoom. It doesn't, so it gets a little blurry if you make things bigger. But I wanted to get a good image of Mars there. About a week and a half ago, there was what they call an occultation. The moon moved between us and Mars, and it kind of ate Mars. So go ahead and click on that animation for us, Mike, at the bottom, and here we go. And it takes a few seconds, but you can see Mars kind of slowly slipping behind the moon. And that's what I say that Mars is a small planet. Jupiter would have been a bit bigger if this was happening to Jupiter, but the planets aren't really big at this. But the moon is a nice size. And then about an hour and 15 minutes later, it popped out the other side. So there, it's gone. Mars has left the building. Just to give you the range of things you can do with this in the night sky, and I don't have anything on the landscapes or the terrestrial side for you, but yeah, it's just a lot of possibility. It's nice, it travels well, so I think this is going to be a pretty popular item for us. So I'm glad you took the time to yes.
I have a quick question. First, your enthusiasm is.
I sell space.
I want a YouTube video of you, like one of those, and I bet you have that. Like, what is that? So aside from that, thank you. So can you use it as a telescope, or is it only captures?
This only captures photos and video.
Okay.
So this is not a looking through telescope.
So you'd have to, you can't.
Yeah, you have to have a device to control.
Okay,
Yeah, so this is why we're calling it electronic assisted astronomy.
okay,
So we actually do lend, we have 3 telescopes. We also just purchased, we do more traditional, set it up, there's an eyepiece there, look at the moon.
okay.
And that'll give you some very nice views too. It won't give you, they won't give you all the colors.
I mean, you've sold this, so.
Yeah. So I mean, and one of the things I had to promise myself when I got my own was I'm not gonna give up that aspect of doing astronomy either. So I want the photons to hit my eye. But there's things that I can do with this that are just really cool. But yeah, this is strictly a set it up and look at your phone or iPad or whatever.
Got it.
So, and that will appeal to some and it may not
Yeah.
appeal to others.
No, it's awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So you could, in theory, check out the sea star and the telescope.
You could put them side by side and compare what you see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Picture.
And actually, it would be kind of interesting because like the very first photo I had, that big pink and white blotch thing, that's called the Great Orion Nebula. It's in a lot of photos you've ever seen. And it's interesting because this captures a lot of color in there. When you look at it in the telescope, in a regular telescope, you'll see the shape of the clouds and stuff. It's a beautiful thing in a telescope. You're not going to see the colors because your eyes, one of the things this has is the chip is patient and it builds up. It's much more sensitive to color than your night is with eye vision. If you go outside at night, you don't see the colors of things. So you're seeing with your night vision when you look through a telescope. It may brighten it a bit, but it's not going to show you the color of the Venus does. And that's one of the amazing things. And the other thing is because of the light pollution filter and the fact that it captures these things in little 10-second images, it finds things that I can't see in my telescope at all, especially in this light environment. But I'm looking at things that the Eagle Nebula from here would be impossible. I've taken a picture of a thing called the Veil Nebula, which is just this wispy thing. I took it in Downers Grove, and it's just gorgeous in my picture. I cannot possibly see it from where I live because this thing just captures it patiently. Yeah. So So I'm hoping that gives you an idea. We'd like to take a look later and see if we can get some results.
Wow, well, I must have seen your Facebook and Instagram because I saw you guys playing with this. You know, obviously, we already have a lot of customers that are interested, they've signed up to check this out. I'm wondering, you know, in the future, it would be interesting, I think, to perhaps target teachers, like science teachers and that, and while District 25 and 214, much bigger, have bigger budgets too, I would encourage you to remember the private schools in our community that don't have big budgets for
Yeah.
this. Like Christian Liberty, St. James, Wayside, I'm sure St. Peter, there's, you know, they don't have the resources that perhaps District 25 and 214 have, so don't forget that.
Yeah, I think there's tremendous program
Yeah.
potential here. I think there's the option, like, you know, if they're having some kind of evening event or something, like just, you know, if they're having a bonfire somewhere, you don't wanna be right to the bonfire. But, you know, get a little bit away from it, you can.
Well,
set it up and
sometimes
show-
they have like Space Week or whatever.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
do-
absolutely. We
I
can-
think there's a
yeah.
lot,
Yeah,
so.
there's a lot from showing them the sun, showing them the moon if it's up in the daytime or something like that, or if it's an evening event, getting it outside and showing them some stuff. And it's a lot of potential.
Well, thank you.
Do we wanna show the video real quick?
Oh, yeah,
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 sorry.
yeah, we'll show you the video.
How about a flash drive?
I think,
Unless you
is
guys,
that for, like there?
oh, sure, yeah. It's just in a telescope folder.
And we thought you were the data guy. Who knew? Money hat, money hat.
It's something in my spare time.
Trying to figure out how Jill can be checked out with.
Yes. Science teachers would like that too.
It's a quick one, so.
Yeah.
Scouting groups, camping groups. I don't know,
Yeah.
I'm thinking of all
Love that.
Yeah, so this was super helpful. I'm really grateful to our marketing team, because this, you know, expanded, people's interest in the item.
Yeah,
Yeah, when you want to check out our holds now.
yeah, yeah. So. And so we think it's gonna be a fun thing to have. All right.
Nice. All right.
And are people interested in taking a look after the meeting?
Yeah,
Okay, so.
but
you're
we
gonna-
do have a little bit to do
Yeah,
first.
Yeah, they need to go downstairs and set it up, so I will give them a 10-minute warning when we're headed down.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you.
What's the temperature rating?
Yeah, we're gonna find out.
Sometimes, so this weather is perfectly.
Oh,
good.
Yeah, this is good, by the manufacturer, it says it's good down to 10 below.
Good, because it's.
Yeah, we're at, 5 below right now. Plus, to keep the lens from fogging up, it's got an internal heater that you can turn on. It'll actually slightly like reduce doing, because like on summer nights and stuff, that are reduced doing, winter nights it can reduce fogging.
Wow, they thought of everything.
All right. Moving on to new business.
Yeah,
Tell us about remodeling.
all right. I would invite Andy Dogan to join us. Andy is our architect from Williams Architects. And he will, he's gonna give us kind of an overview on the project plan for 2025, which we've been working with them now for a number of months.
All right.
So.
Thank you, everybody. Good to see you all. Happy New Year. What a tough act to follow.
I have nothing to show you in person. There was no pre-recorded Instagram video of Kyle and Carrie and I doing stuff.
Jump on the moon.
So, if I can present this with, a quarter of the enthusiasm of those two gentlemen, I think I'm doing okay. So as Mike said, we want to present, the plans for 2025 projects. We've, as you've seen with recent, bathroom remodeling and things of that nature, we've moved from larger, what I would call more transformational projects with you folks, like Maker Place and Kids World, to more infrastructure. It's all important though. And what we are moving into for 25 is kind of the second year of what will hopefully be infrastructure-based projects, just replacing things that have lived their useful life and we want to keep up to speed. So I'll just very quickly go through the different components of this and why we're doing it. So in talking about different things that we'd like to do and the budget that is available for capital projects and these projects specifically this year, we came to the consensus that really focusing on this floor of the building is, for the most part, was how we could really make the greatest impact. So we'll be replacing a lot of the things on this floor of the building that have never been updated, like ceilings, like lighting, like flooring and carpeting that has really lived its life. So as part of this project, it's not just about making things look pretty. We are going to be replacing quite a bit of lighting with new, really energy efficient lighting that is going to reduce your operating costs. It'll bring you into compliance with current energy codes. And we'll be able to help you get, if not some, potentially all of the costs of the fixtures paid for via energy efficiency programs that ComEd has. And as part of this project, since we couldn't quite bite off all of your existing bathrooms as part of this last project, we'll be renovating the rest of them that haven't been touched yet. So those are mostly in staff areas. Where are these ceilings and lighting projects happening? This is a ceiling plan of the entire second floor that we're in of the building. Actually, the center of this right here is the room we're in right now. And except for the Hendrickson room, except for the study rooms that are a little newer, we'll be replacing all of the ceiling tile with a much, I would say, smoother, less textured, cleaner, brighter look that will brighten up all the spaces. So just a little sample of that. We'll be replacing all of the 2x2 lighting fixtures with new LED fixtures that consume about 35% of the energy of what we have now. Other fixtures, we're looking at similar kinds of updates, but the majority of the fixtures on this floor, everywhere you see these little squares in the middle of the spaces, will be light fixtures along the lines of something like this. So along with that, we'll be looking at replacing a lot of flooring and carpeting, again, mostly on the second floor here. We found when you're replacing ceiling tile, it tends to get floors dirty. So it's nice to replace these concurrently to the extent possible. So we've looked at a base bid area, which is the blue color. So that's what we will get is the base project. We also want to get pricing for two different areas. This green is an alternate number one, which are mostly private offices. And then the purple are other departmental rooms. We're just getting separate prices for those. We are hopeful that the pricing will come in where we want it to be and we'll be able to do all of those. But what I also wanted to mention is that, actually, you know what, I lied, I do have a video, I just didn't make it myself. We're going to be looking at a material that is new to the building for your carpeting. It's a carpet-like product called Kinetics. It's a really, I think if we click on that, a video might go. Let's see what happens. I don't think we set up an let's see, not working. Okay, That's okay, I can send it to you next time. What this is a very, very durable carpet-like product. It comes in all sorts of colors and patterns. It installs very similar to carpet tile. It has the feel of carpet, but it is a much more durable product. Has almost the durability and the cleanability of a vinyl tile. We've been working with the Naperville Library System for the last decade. We've installed this in all of their buildings, and by now there is absolutely no question about how they want to move all their projects forward. That's another 5-star library. It's another very, very high traffic set of buildings. So we've suggested that product here because it's held up very well. Even in some of the lighter colors, very easily cleanable, and we can show you the receipts that it's working very well for high traffic buildings. Other parts of this project, we do have enough in our budget to start renovating, not the Henderson room itself, but one of the ancillary spaces, that kitchen immediately behind it. All of this, this room hasn't been touched since the second floor was built in the late 80s. So you see a lot of original cabinets, a lot of original flooring, appliances, plumbing fixtures there that have seen better days. So right now, this space is currently not ADA compliant because it was built before the enactment of ADA. So in addition to giving it a complete refresh, the biggest piece of this is that we'll be introducing new countertops, cabinets, and sinks that are completely ADA compliant. So we're cleaning out that room, giving it an extended service life of 30 years and making it compliant, because we know it's not just staff who go in there. It could be used for programs as well. So that will have a tile backsplash. It will just have a stainless steel shelf instead of lockable cabinets up above. And talking with staff, the feeling was that would be more useful for this kind of space, which we agree with. And then finally, again, the staff bathrooms that we didn't get to as part of the project that is just wrapping up. These are particularly in the basement. A couple other spots will be refreshing with entirely new ceilings, lighting, tile, accessories, things of that nature to completely transform them and bring them up to speed. So
are they ADA compliant already?
they comply with previous versions of the code. So they are grandfathered in as accessible under those codes. Interestingly, to stay compliant, we have to take the plumbing fixtures that are there off and replace and put them back. If we replace the plumbing fixtures as part of the project, we would then have to enlarge the bathrooms to meet current codes. Fortunately, that's not a requirement because it would be impossible to enlarge some of these bathrooms based on where they are. So that is the scope of the entire project. Our schedule is, like I said, and like Mike said, we've been working on some design and just the scope of this with staff over the last few months. The proposal you have is your next item of business tonight is our services to perform the construction documents and administration. So assuming that's approved, we would finish the design, put the construction documents together. We want to go out to, even though we won't begin construction until September, we want to go out to bid in April. So that we can get this going, we can order materials, make sure we do have a lot of carpeting. So we want to make sure we get that here in time for the project to happen in September. And we anticipate to finish this project and that we will by the end of 2025. So even though it's the beginning of 2025, we want to make sure we're getting these things off to a good start. So that's what we have for you. I know not as exciting as a telescope, but they are important.
We need bathrooms that are
things that I think are really needed and have other positive effects for staff and for their customers. So any questions?
Are we, would this construction be eligible for any ADA grants, or we got a big grant last year, so we're not due for one?
We are not due for one. Basically, we've got to go through 3 cycles. We got one for the Maker Place 4 years ago. We have one for this project. We're only eligible basically every 4 years, and the only funding source for accessibility right now is through the Illinois State Library. So you technically can apply, but you would go to the back of the line, assuming they don't spend all of their money for that grant program, which never happens, or no, has only happened once in the 20 years I've been holding numbers with this, so unfortunately. Yes, Jen.
You mentioned you were going to, replace the fixtures with like LED. What are they now?
You have, most of your fixtures are fluorescent in the building.
Okay.
You've had some fixtures that have been replaced over the years. Our new lighting in Kids World that we did as part of the project was LED, but that's really the standard now. As a matter of fact, I don't know how we would meet energy efficiency codes with anything but LED lights now. Because there's a new code every 3 years, it's automatically enacted, and every year it gets tougher and tougher and more energy efficient. So it will be a project over the years to completely convert the library off of the existing fixtures that you have to LED. But we're hoping to start a nice basis and nice template for replacement in other areas with this project, just kind of like what we did with the bathrooms last year. Started on a process and keep it going as your funds allow.
Right.
I'm sure once it's done, it's gonna be great. Everything you work on, I love the end result. And I've got a lot of questions about specifics on it, but I don't know if this is the right meeting to ask those. I'm wondering, I'm just thinking about the money. With the last budget, we had talked about, I thought we talked about a lighting project that we were gonna be splitting up between 25 and 26.
Correct.
Is this not it, or is
This is half of it. So we're focused on the second floor this year.
okay?
So that was replacement of all the ceiling tiles and the lighting throughout the building. So what we ended up doing was essentially splitting that amount. We're doing second floor this year and first floor essentially next year.
Okay, so we're talking about, so it's 1.1 million this year and probably about another 1.1 million next year.
Probably not. That 1.1, it also includes the restrooms and the flooring that's up here. And I think that's.
And the
So,
kitchen as well.
yeah, so there's a lot more in that 1.1 than just the lighting.
So I'm just gonna ask the question, I'm just thinking about, obviously this is the first year in many years that, we increased the tax levy. And does it and we've got a lot of things that we have to spend money on. A lot of these things are nice to haves, type of thing, but they don't necessarily affect. And I always hate it, I know I'm gonna get hit on this because I know a lot of this is affecting the staff, and I don't mean this as a negative toward the staff, but. There are things that if they aren't done, the library will still be able to offer the services that we're still offering today. I understand there's some ADA compliancy issues and I totally understand about that, and I like, 35% less, like. Or what it is that always saves money for the long term, but does it make sense though to continue maybe stretching this out for another year as we kind of get things going to kind of limit the impact on the budget and the expenses as we move along?
I would advocate for redoing the bathrooms. The bathrooms are old and, this our staff that are using them. I think that we've put, a fair amount of money into the public restrooms this year. We wanted to try and get some of the staff restrooms in there, which we were able to get to in the staff lounge, but this is something that staff have been asking for a long time too. It's not just us, updating them. They are very dated and, the toilets are not quite ADA height. And there's a number of reasons I think it's worth investing in the staff the same way we do the public in this specific instance.
We approved this, but
Yeah.
This was, Greg, I hear your points and your concern, and also, we had numerous discussions, I believe, in budget discussions, like coming up to this and deciding that this was the best move for the library, that we wanted to be also proactive and responsible and being able to, before it started crumbling, we want to be responsible in these choices. So, I think you always bring up a good point. That's great to really consider budget and make sure, but I do disagree. I don't feel like they're frivolous. I feel like there's part of a responsibility about running a building to keep up with even light efficiency, right? We're going, you said 35% reduction, you know, in light. Sorry, LED energy, thank you, energy cost. But just, you know, that I think that, you know, we have had this discussion, I think is my point. And I think always a concern is valid. It's just, you know, we've been there.
The only thing I'd say to that though is that the discussion we had over budget, we didn't have these specifics. You know, exactly where we were gonna be and what it was all going to entail.
We did have.
We did.
specific-
We talked about that.
Yeah,
carpeting
and that's why
and
we
the
split it up over 2 years, and we can't even always get replacement parts for some of the lighting because it's not available anymore.
Right, and some of the tube lighting will be, it's gonna be phased out over the next year or two. Legally, they can't manufacture some of the lights that we use downstairs.
I would say, I would probably just say that, yes, we talked about certain things, but not to this detail. That we're starting, that we're starting to get in here, and that's the only thing, look, if we feel it's the right thing to do. And it makes a difference, sure, the bathrooms need to be updated, I'm totally on board with that, especially for the staff. Just as we're thinking about it, you know, the one question I had down here was the tiles, you know, and I was kind of sitting there going, I don't know personally. What's the difference between, you know, the different tiles and what that kind of stuff does? So maybe getting even more details just about the why.
Well, I think, that's an entirely fair point, Greg. And, you know, with respect to the ceiling tiles, part of what will make the lighting more efficient is having better reflectance, in the ceiling from what you have. Any new ceiling tile we get today is going to be about 15% more reflective than what you have now. The other piece of it is better acoustic performance as well. So, just, helping people hear each other better in spaces. And also helping to attenuate sound between spaces where you may not have walls that go all the way up to structure. Your ceiling is your line of defense, and by these ceiling projects will also help us with acoustics as well as lighting. So I would say there is something we're getting functionally from it, and from a building performance standpoint.
Anyone else? Yeah, Jen.
I will just ask, and I apologize if we talked about this before, but why the second floor before the first floor?
One of the things that we wanted to address, the second floor was the carpeting
Oh, carpeting, okay.
up here because it outside the Hendrickson room and down this hallway really see a lot of traffic. And so we felt, you know, if we're gonna pick one or the other to do, let's start upstairs and kind of knock this out.
Yes, we went through with Carrie, our interior designer, what we have up here is by far the worst condition.
Okay.
And because we want to tie these projects together, to minimize disruption and make sure one project isn't disrupting, you know, or causing an
Yeah.
issue with another project, that's what pushed the second floor.
Okay,
Great question.
Well, and then I suppose you can learn from the second floor before you.
Yeah, no, absolutely, you know, although we expect this to be a fairly straightforward project, there are always things hiding and lurking above ceilings that are not shown on drawings. You know, we budget for that, and SMC budgets for that in the contingency process. And it's always handled as part of the projects, but if there is anything pervasive, wow, there's a lot of this up there, we better look for that next time.
Yeah.
Then those lessons learned will apply to larger areas. So I feel good about this strategy for a number of reasons.
Is there a way that we can really attempt our best to avoid finals week? I know this is busy all the time, but finals week, it's really busy. Is that something that might be possible?
I think so. The good news is, you know, even within this project upstairs, we will be able to schedule and phase some things just because we can't have everybody moving out of the
Right.
spaces all at once.
Right.
So we can definitely ask the construction manager to front load, your public areas like conference rooms.
Right.
So those are out of the way finished before, those final weeks.
Yeah.
Now that, and if anything, it might make sense to put the tail end of the project in the staff areas where, not to say that staff disruption is okay, but it's not as disruptive to estimate.
Right, I mean, finals weekend, if we do One Book, One Village here again, obviously we wouldn't want that. I don't know if that would be the case or if we'll go back to Forest View, but just looking at the Hendrickson room, making sure that if there's some big event for some reason up there, that we're avoiding that time.
Yeah, we'll lay all that out in the
Yeah.
timeline before.
Yeah, SMC has been really good with scheduling these projects and phasing them around like we're doing.
Okay. Anyone else? Are we comfortable making a motion?
Sure. I move the Board of Library Trustees approves entering into a contract with Williams Architects for the 2025 renovation project in an amount not to exceed $66,000 plus reimbursable expenses.
Second,
Any discussion? May I have a roll call, please?
Trustee Morel,
Yes.
trustee Galvin.
Yes.
Trustee Kelly,
Aye.
trustee Zip,
yes.
president Samari.
Aye.
Thank you
All
very much.
right, thank you. Look forward to it.
I'll bring a video next.
Right. Do we have any other?
No other. I don't
No.
know.
One other that I just want the board to think about is we do have an election coming up. And Mike and I were talking and we thought it might be a nice idea, either before or after one of our February meetings, if possible. We could invite candidates, maybe for a half an hour, in just to hear about the library board, what some issues might be. What else, Mike?
Yeah, just opportunity to ask questions.
Yeah, I think it's happened in the past. It hasn't happened in a while. It didn't happen when we ran, but it sounds like a nice idea, and I know that many, there are several people running for board positions, so. I just want the board to think about that, look at your schedule, see if you'd prefer the half hour before a meeting or a half hour after, and I'm thinking February would be a good meeting. Because.
Sorry, the board meeting or the cow meeting?
Well, either, like, look at your schedule and see if you have conflicts at any of those times. March seems a little late for me, because the election is April
Would it
first.
be, it would have to be, if there's more than two trustees, I would think it'd have to be an open meeting. wouldn't
Yeah,
it?
I think it's just you and me
Yeah,
Oh,
providing time for,
all right. Okay, well, in that case,
yeah, maybe an hour before the meeting or something.
okay, got it. All right, never mind, sorry. All right, anyone else have other? Yes.
Yes, I was looking at the calendar after it turned over 2025 and what things that the library is going to do. And I think I recall that there is a certain protocol in place for putting in a request for certain flags being flown. And is there a particular request that the board would need to do for the pride flag
Yeah, I'll send you the form
for June?
to fill out for next month.
Thank you.
All right. So just at this point in the meeting, we are going to make a motion and go into closed session for our visitors tonight. We wouldn't expect you to stay. We go over old minutes. And then we would come back into live session and then the meeting would be over. So I don't want to have to sit in the hallway for like 20 minutes for that. So may I have a motion to go into closed session in accordance with 5 ILCS 120-2C21 for the purpose of reviewing closed session minutes.
So moved.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you for coming out on we went back into closed session. Do we need to be on TV to do that?
Yeah, you're back on.
Go back on that.
We're
Yep.
back on. May I have a motion to go back into open session?
So moved.
So moved. Second,
Seconded.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. May I have a motion to approve our closed session minutes from this January 21st, 2025?
So.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Excellent, thank you. May I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved.
We have to-
We have to make a motion on what we're doing with these. With the minutes, so I'm gonna make a motion that we release the written minutes and destroy the audio recordings for the closed session minutes for January 17th, 2023. April 3rd, 2023, June 6th, 2023. July 18th, 2023. 1, 2, 3, 4, those four, right?
Yes.
And I will second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
And now I will make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Well